Hello, welcome back to my channel, everybody. As you can tell, I'm here with a special guest, the guest of honor, my soul sister, Fatima Farmer. She is absolutely amazing. She's a YouTuber, she has a podcast. Soul Beauty Chat is her empire, where you can find online courses, you can find all her podcasts there. You can catch all of her stuff on Soul Beauty Chat. She also has an online community on Facebook that you can be a part of, so you can, you know, have your online sisters. So she's amazing. We are like basically sisters. Can't you tell? Can't you guys tell? But anyway, I'm so glad that you agreed to be on my channel.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited and honored to be a part of this.
Thank you. We are back with another episode of Jesus Christ, Let's Talk. And who better to have than Fatima? So today I saw fit for us to kind of just discuss the topic of how to number one, figure out kind of like what your purpose is, specifically in the kingdom, like what is your part of the body, and how can you take that and utilize that in the world outside of the church. So we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be eating this delicious meal prepared by Fatima in her new exclusive information right here, her new LA apartment. Boom. So I guess as I eat this lovely salad, first question is like, I guess we'll start with the basics. Mm-hmm. How did you figure out kind of like your thing? How did you figure out your creative expression of sharing your gifts, I guess, your gifts and your talents that are given obviously by God, into the secular world without being churchy?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish there was like a short answer that I could give, but
we don't want that.
Okay, it was definitely a journey. Like it wasn't this version of Fatima that you see here wasn't here just last month or like last year or a few years ago. Like I'm constantly evolving, but I think the journey started with me not even really knowing God. Like I didn't have a relationship with God. It was just like I knew of God. Mm-hmm. I always knew that there was something bigger than us that created all of this. Mm-hmm. But I never was like a Christian. I was never like, this is who I am, this is what I believe. Mm-hmm. It was a journey to get there. Like, I think, actually what we were just talking about earlier before we started recording of like, when I was 23, I was like, just so lost and so confused. And it was around that time, like 22, 23, where I really started my spiritual journey.
Oh, wow.
Where I moved into my first apartment, actually. It was like, I was isolated from everyone, and that kind of forced me to kind of dig deeper into that. Like I started having those questions like, what am I really doing? You know, like I was working at a job as an office manager, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like I knew that there was something more I was supposed to be doing. And I was kind of transitioning out of the fashion world because I worked in fashion initially. And I was like, that's not it. This office manager role is not it. So what is it? And I was just like trying to figure that out. But in that space of isolation and being by myself and being like a little distant from my family, it really forced me to just like spend a lot of quiet time with myself, not realizing I was actually spending time with God. Because that was like before I had a relationship with God. And I was just constantly like reading books about all walks of life, trying to understand like, who is this God that I feel, but I don't feel connected to.
Right.
And that led me down a rabbit hole of going from basically being like an atheist to being like, I don't believe in anything. Like I'm just one with like whatever the bigger thing is, but I don't subscribe to anything, to then being like, well, there's definitely something.
Yeah.
And that led me to like studying Hinduism, Buddhism, all those things. Like I literally dibbled and dabbled in all of them because I was so curious. Like I was just like, I need to know what I don't know. So I just kept digging and digging and digging. And it's just like a rabbit hole. And then I would say probably like maybe the biggest shift or one of the biggest things was like during that whole time, I was in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend, who's awesome, by the way. If he's watching, OJ was good. But he was like super Christian. He was very religious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his family was very religious, and they were always very active and involved in church. And I was kind of just like, at first I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. Stop asking me about it. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of started being like, okay, maybe I'll go to service, or maybe I'll go to this thing. So that, I feel like that was kind of like planting the seed along the way the whole time. So after I tried all those things, and none of those things really brought me peace. Like Buddhism, although I understood the concept, it didn't bring me peace.
Mm-hmm.
All the other things that I studied, it never brought me peace. And that was the difference when I really tried God. Like when I really, really tried God, I felt a difference versus when I tried any other God.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of led me to the point where I was like, okay, I think I can commit to this. And the whole time I was kind of like documenting this on my YouTube channel. So if you guys are curious, you can kind of go back and watch it a little bit.
Good stuff.
Thank you. But then at some point I got to a stage where like I felt like I had to become the typical Christian that I always saw in my mind. Like once I got to the point where I was like, okay, I believe this now, but now I have to like be this thing. Like I can't just be me. I have to be this Christian version of myself. And then that turned into like me performing. It was like me like trying to do everything right and trying to look a certain way and dress a certain way and like just certain things about myself that I would try to change to like mold myself into this ideal Christian, especially with like the digital space where it's like you see all these like the digital influencers who are Christians, how they dress, how they carry, how they wear their hair.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt like I had to fit into that mold.
Even the way they pray.
Like the journals and all that.
Exactly.
Like,
the journals are crazy.
It's just like that's not me.
Yeah.
Like I have tattoos, I have piercings, I am different and I want to still embody that. And I think that was really important for me is to not completely change myself as a person to fit into a mold, but instead to just allow God to change me over time. Because I really had a stage, I don't know if you remember this, but on my channel where like all my content just switched from like beauty and all of that to faith, which is cool, but it was very like legalistic and religious, where I was like, I stopped watching like Insecure and Power and stopped listening to certain music.
I remember watching. I was like, "Dang!" I was like, I can't stop watching.
But it was,
it
was totally like it's a difference when God convicts you of something versus like I feel like this is what I have to do to be a Christian.
Yes,
and that's the role that I was taking on. Like I was like, I feel like I have to remove these things. They are distractions, but I have to remove them in order to be more like God.
Right.
And then it was like I shut all of these pieces of myself off. And I didn't even feel like myself. I didn't even recognize myself. And I understand that like we're supposed to be renewed constantly, right? But it's a difference when God is like gradually convicting you of things over time versus just being like, well, this is the Christian way. I'm just going to do all these things and check all these boxes. And that's what I was falling into. And I think if I like being honest about that, I can see that now. So it took a very long journey to get to the point where I'm like, I express God through ways that doesn't have to be like this cookie cutter version. Like sometimes, for example, having tattoos is the opener for me to then talk about God. Yeah. Like people will be like, oh, what's that on your arm? And then I'll start talking about it. And then before you know it, we're talking about God. Yeah. You know? So I think for me, it's just been understanding that it's okay if my journey looks different from everyone else's and if I express differently, because I'm not the person, like I admire people that can go up to strangers and be like, God told me to tell you, like, God bless you, or God loves you. And I'm just like, I personally would be terrified to do that. But like, I make it an intention that if I am in the grocery store or if I am at the laundromat or anywhere, if I have an exchange with the person, to meet them where they are and to like try to connect with them. And then if they start asking me questions, to be honest about who I am and what I believe. Like it happened at Trader Joe's the other day when the girl was like, oh, she asked me something and I started telling her that I moved here 2.5 months ago. And she's like, oh, wow, like, how's it been? And I was like, this is my chance to talk about God. Like, it's just like a switch. It was just like, I started telling her and next thing you know, we're talking about God and we're talking about faith. And she's just like bagging my groceries, you know? So basically, I found ways to integrate being a light to other people as a Christian through my work online, but also in real life through the everyday interactions.
Got it. Got it. I love that. So basically, you guys can see that we finished the food.
Yes, it's gone.
Just so you're not confused, right? It's magically gone. We ate it. We paused and we ate it because my camera overheated. So there's that. But I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I don't know why I feel like I didn't know that part of your story.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were just like, oh wow, really? I didn't know,
like faking it, like, oh wow. Yeah, I don't think I knew it that
yeah.
intricately. Beautiful. I love that. So, okay, another question I have for you.
Okay.
Since your new like walk in discovery with God, like how did you come to the conclusion of Soul Beauty Chat? Like how did that birth? Because I feel like that's kind of an extension of like your part in the body, even though it's not necessarily like you're in church or it's a church ministry. It's not, but it's still your active participation in advancing.
I think for me it was all like an experiment. Like because I was in that spot where I felt so lost for a while, I just was experimenting. Like starting YouTube was an experiment. It was just like I already had a blog, like a blog spot. Shout out to anybody that remember Blogspot. But I had a blog spot where I talked about fashion and stuff like that. But I knew that I wanted to create videos. Like I was really inspired by just like style videos and stuff like that. And so I started experimenting with that. And then before I knew it, it was like as I was evolving in my journey with God, my interest started to change over time. So I didn't want to talk about natural hair anymore. I didn't want to talk about fashion really. Just like those things over time, I just wasn't interested in. So after fighting it for a really long time, like I was like, no, God, I'm supposed to be an influencer.
Right.
This is the life you have for me. And I was just like, actually, no, this is not it. Like, because I tried it and I was like I'm the type of person that I try things on. Like if I think that something is for me or that God has pushed me in a direction, I try it on. And if it fits, then I continue in that area and see what happens. If it doesn't fit, then I'd like give it back. I'd toss it back. So I'm like, okay, that's actually not it.
That's not.
So I'm constantly pivoting. And my journey has a lot of different, like, I've done a lot of different things. I've worked in a lot of different industries. So I'm always just like, well, what's over here? What's over there? Like that curiosity again. So I think for me, it was like following those breadcrumbs led me to a point where I realized that I wanted to use my platform to talk about, it was really like sharing my faith journey at first. It was like, I want to share from the personal lens because
like
oftentimes, just like oftentimes you see so many people who just have arrived at this spot. And I'm all about what did it take to get you there?
Exactly. Which is what we're all about here in this channel too, the how.
Yes. And I was like, well, let me be an example of what I want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Like I'm always complaining about how did this person get there? No one talks about it.
Exactly.
Everyone just shows up as this like amazing person, but how? I was like, let me be the how.
Exactly.
Like I'll be the how for everyone else. And that's how it started. I just was like, okay, I started with my questions. How do you pray? How do you read the Bible? So as I was exploring those things, I started to make videos about those things and share with other people. Like once I figured something out, I would then create a video on how I figured it out. And then I would break it down in a way that was very simple, that if someone was new to it, they would be able to follow somewhat of a guide to do it themselves. So that's how it kind of started. And then it was also the Soul Beauty Chat was like birthed as just a series. It was I thought of the concept of soul beauty, of like inner beauty. Like what does that look like? Let's explore it and then let's chat about it. So I was doing that within myself and then I started creating videos on it. So I would literally pick up the camera and just be like, today is one of those days where I am actually doubting if God even exists. Like, I know I'm a Christian and I talk about God on my channel, but I just don't know today. Like, I'm confused. Like, I don't know if it's okay for me to do this or if it's okay for me to do that. Like, I didn't talk to people as an expert. I just talked to them as a person that was trying to figure it out. And that's really what the Soul Beauty Chat was birthed out of. Now I think because I'm further along in my journey, I do have experience that makes me a little bit more knowledgeable, and I spend a lot more time in God's Word and like studying and trying to understand. Whereas before it was just like, let's just figure it out together.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now that's how I'm at the point where I'm creating courses and I'm creating spaces and events and stuff. But I still never take the approach of the expert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a facilitator. I bring everyone together to have these conversations, and maybe I'll guide the conversation with questions and journaling and different tools that I've picked up along the way. But I'm not like expert Christianity person. I'm not that at all. I'm just like, let's just all come together, talk about what we don't know, get people who know more than us to come into the conversation and share their wisdom, and I can help create guides and resources to get us there. But I don't look at myself as an expert in like faith or Christianity. It's like the Soul Beauty Chat is really a space for us to all grow and evolve together. Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Specifically because that's how my channel was birthed too. Same way.
Yeah.
It was like, it's all stemmed, and I've kept my About Me section. I think it's called About Me on YouTube, where you can go and see what the channel is about. I kept it. I haven't even changed the typos or anything because it's just so beautiful to me how like raw it is.
Yeah.
But that's how my channel was birthed. I was like, how are all these people getting to the place where they're at, whether it's like, you know, spiritually, or how are they at this level of success, or how are they this happy?
Yep.
How do they always look so fabulous?
Yep.
Right? Because it's like, yeah, you can show me like 50 outfits that look great together, but how did you acquire all those clothes? How did you pay for all those clothes? And where did you get those clothes from? And how do you store all those clothes? And how do you take that to all the different apartments that you're always moving at, girl?
Right.
Like all these hows. And that's exactly how my channel worked. It was like, I want to become a how.
Yeah.
I've been calling it the behind the scenes to life kind of thing, you know? And it's so important.
It is.
And I think that's what gravitates people to you and this to Soul Beauty Chat, is because it's transparent, it's authentic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are wanting that now. Because they're realizing that this facade stuff, it's not real. It starts falling down.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like trying to carry around perfection or like this image or idea, it's just like, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me to just show up and be myself, and just people can resonate with that, and then God is all in the mix of it.
Exactly.
So they get God by me being myself.
Exactly.
But if I wasn't being myself, they might just look at me and think, oh, I'm not at that level.
Yeah.
I can't ever get to that point, so like I don't even want to entertain or like exchange with this person.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. The goal is never to impart envy in the viewer. It's to remove envy and to inspire.
Right. Like literally to take my mask off so that you see that I'm just as flawed as you.
Yeah.
And then that like I'm just figuring it out just like you're figuring it out.
Right.
And then it suddenly makes it seem whatever I'm doing that you're admiring now seems like realistic. It seems like it's attainable because you're like, okay, well, she's not perfect. She didn't have it all figured out. She didn't graduate from college. She didn't do all these things. So it's just like, if she can do this, okay, maybe I can do this with whatever set of circumstances you were served in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what else? I guess I can ask, what do you identify as your, I guess, like particular like spiritual gifts, and how do you translate them into what you do?
That's a great question. I think, I've actually taken a test on this before, and I got prophecy.
Okay.
I got, I think service was one of them, or servant, or something like that. I think the other one might have been like administration.
Yep.
It's like organizing, facilitating, which so
that's what I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The prophecy one kind of surprised me a little bit, I think, because like I definitely know that I'm intuitive, but I never saw it as like a spiritual gift.
Being
like
prophetic.
I never looked at it that way. I was just like, sometimes I get very strong senses of things. Like I'm just like, I have a feeling about this, I have a feeling about that. And sometimes I'm wrong, but oftentimes I'm right, like very spot on right. And at first I noticed it a lot just with myself, but then I started noticing it a little bit with some of my friends too. And with my close friends, I would share with them like what I felt those strong urges about, but I never connected it with a spiritual gift. Honestly, until like recently when I took that test, and that was probably like last month.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, so this is a thing
Yeah.
that I should explore, because I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I was just like, my friends always joke that like I'm the reader, like I'm always reading people, where it's like I can sense, like even when we first met up, I could sense that you felt like there was something on you, like that you, like when you talked about the anxiety and stuff like that, like I can sense that in people, whether it's like they're sad or they're emotional or something's going on.
I think another one too is discernment. Discernment of spirits.
Yeah.
Too. I think
for sure.
I feel like those two probably really go hand in hand.
Yeah. I think for sure that is definitely something where I'm like,
it's like
I walk in a space sometimes and I'm just like, this is not for me.
Right.
Just like, energetically.
Breaking it down.
It's like fine to everyone else, but I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Not where I'm supposed to be. But I think that kind of scares me a little bit. The idea of having that type of in tuneness with God. I think it scares me a little bit because it's like, I'm almost afraid of what happens when
you tap into it.
Not when I tap into it, but when I ignore it.
Oh.
That scares me, because I can be the type of person that like, I'll hear something or see something, especially if God is telling me to do something, and I'm like, maybe I didn't really hear that. You know, like I try to, like it's like I need God to remind me multiple times, kind of like Gideon in the Bible, where he's like, if it's
Gideon.
you,
man.
like, make the fleece wet and the ground dry.
Right.
All right, let's try again. Make the ground wet and the fleece. Like I'm Gideon to a T. Like I'm like, I think that was you, but just confirm it.
Just confirm one more time. One more time.
And I know you confirmed it the last time, but just one more time.
Just to be clear, because like I don't want to move without you. Like,
and I think oftentimes I'm like, the weight of knowing that I can have this clear, prophetic, intuitive, like assurance on things, and also knowing that at the same time I can be very hesitant to like take action or to do those things. I'm like, what happens if I don't? You know, like I'm starting to become a little afraid of what happens if I don't follow that. Yeah. But I definitely agree. Like the discernment one for sure ties in perfectly with that. But yeah, it's a new thing that I'm like embracing. Because it was not something that I always just thought it was just being empathetic. Because I was just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just like, I think I still am, but that I think is just a different way to name it. Like in being an empath and being a highly sensitive person is the same thing as being discerning of spirits.
Yeah, and prophet.
And prophetic, yeah.
Usually prophets are empaths.
Yeah.
All my friends that are prophets are.
Well, there you have it. You know what's crazy also? So one of my tattoos is actually the translation of my name. And it's in Arabic, but the name is an Islam name. It's also like Catholic and all these other things. But before I knew Christ, I was very drawn to just like understanding what my name meant. And it means daughter of the prophet.
Girl.
And it also means, another translated is the radiant one.
Wow.
And I was just like,
man.
God, it was literally, it was destined. Like, I had no choice.
Yeah, you didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice.
You know what's crazy?
It sounded like you were swimming.
It went in my mouth.
Oh, no.
The thing went in my mouth.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Drink it. It's good.
No, I'm not drinking that. Oh, God.
It's good for you.
Oh, God. Ew, that's so nasty.
I literally was like tilting my back to get it. Like, I was like, yes, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, I'm drinking kombucha, and apparently at the bottom of a kombucha is like this big glob of a...
It's called the mother.
It's a loogie. Okay? And it just went in my mouth. I'm sorry, guys, that you had to witness that. Oh, God. Say wait.
You should leave that in the video.
Kombucha, that's not it. I love everything about the drink, but that little loogie gotta go. Talking about the mother. Yeah, the placenta.
It's the placenta. It really is.
Oh, God.
It's basically the placenta.
Ew.
But it's from apples. It just comes from apples.
I
It's
don't know. I'm
fermented.
so sorry. No. I'll save it for you. You want it?
No.
It's been halfway in my mouth. Oh, what was I going to say? What were we talking about?
The being the empath. You were talking about how a lot of your friends who are prophetic are. Oh, I was talking about my name. That's what it was.
Oh, names are so powerful, and I think a lot of people don't realize how important the naming of a person is, because it really does end up becoming their destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And because we see it all throughout Scripture, like that's how God identified who a person was.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think sometimes in the Bible He will say what a name means.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's why they were also name changes, because the person changed. When you have Abraham, was it Abram? It was Abram to Abraham, right? And then you had Saul to Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are like, boom. And this goes back to, remember what I was telling you about when we were on that walk, when I was talking about my like little crazy hypothesis.
Oh, yes.
About why that's so important is because, basically, in a nutshell for you guys, you're gonna get nerdy Clarice right now. I took a science class and I went down this whole spiral about like the universe and how it works, and realized like just all this stuff about space. And so basically, there's this thing in space, and it's called dark matter. And dark matter in space, and I think also on the planet, this is not going to be completely accurate, but just do your research. But dark matter takes up like over 90% of the universe's like matter. And matter basically is like is the stuff that holds everything together. But dark matter takes up the majority of it. And scientists have no idea what it is. But the closest definition they have to identifying what dark matter is as, like, the example that they gave is that dark matter is like a continuous string that just literally...
Is that your camera?
No.
Oh.
That has to be your fire alarm.
Okay, that scares me.
But dark matter is like a continuous string that goes through, and it like goes and just like kind of connects everything together. And the way that the string kind of like creates its shapes and forms and holds everything together is through vibrations. And vibrations are through sound. And also, like in the Bible, what is the first thing that God did? God said, right? And because God said, He said out of His mouth verbally a word. And from that word, the formation of the entire universe was birthed. And I think that's also why in the Bible, like He reminds us that like professing things out of your mouth will make it so, is because that's literally the formula for creation.
Right.
That's the formula for creating a thing. So when you name a thing, it forms into that thing. Like when you call a tree, it's a tree because the definition of tree is that form, is that shape, is that body, is that shell. So when you name something Fatima, it
literally becomes that.
You literally become that. Like, for example, my name, Clarice, Clarice means famous woman.
What?
Or light or bright.
Wow. That's a big thing.
I know.
Wow.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
Super duper 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 crazy. And I'm not even gonna go into like the rest of my name, but like my whole name is a prophecy of like my life. Even for like the ambitions that I have for my life. Like my last name, I think it means house upon a hill or house by the river. And I always said I want a house by a lake.
Oh my gosh.
And me and my family, one of our our family pastimes is going to the lake and camping. And like one of my biggest dreams is to have like a house by water. And so it's just like, it's so powerful, and I don't think people realize that. So
thank you for that tangent.
Yeah.
I'm like blown myself actually.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. How do you make your expression of Christianity approachable to other people, especially people who are not believers?
Got it. Well, for me too, I feel like it's kind of been a journey with that. Starting with the creation of my YouTube channel. Because prior to that, I've ever since I was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a close relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily grow up in church, but it all started from when I had this little Jesus nightlight that I was afraid of the dark, and my mom got me a nightlight, and it was Jesus. And I would like go to it and be like, "Thank you, Jesus, for lighting up the darkness." Not even knowing, I'm over here praying and quoting scripture, not even knowing. So I've always had like a really strong relationship with him in an intimate way, but prior to YouTube, it's always been very intimate. Like with my friends, I would like change. Like I'd be like, I'm not gonna cuss anymore. I remember in middle school, I'd be like, I'm not gonna cuss anymore. It's just not. I just don't feel right doing it.
Wow.
And I was always just led, kind of just by him, not always knowing that it's God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just always been very close to him, and so up until that point, my relationship with him has been very intimate and on a very personal level. I didn't necessarily talk to people about God and stuff like that. And so it's been a journey with how I approach what I'm passionate about, which is inspiring and uplifting and helping people transform into the best versions of themselves. And I think also too the misconception with even just talking about God or just giving advice when you are a Christian is that people put ideas and put perceptions on you that you, because you are a Christian, because you identify as that your advice is churchy or that your advice is religious. Totally. When no, this advice is sound advice that you're probably going to get from somebody who literally is atheist and a psychiatrist. Like even if you believe different things, a lot of the wisdom, almost all the wisdom in the Bible is wisdom that a lot of people just who desire to live a good life live by default. Yeah. And so I think, so for me, I really just share what's on my heart. And I think by default, it comes out genuine and it comes out real because my aim is not to convert people. Yeah. You know, my aim is to just share the wisdom and the knowledge that I have with the hopes that the people who are watching get something from it that will help them. Right. Whether you are a Christian or not. Right. And I think because of that, because that intent, because of that, like the purpose and the driving factor of why I create, it comes off a lot more lax. Like I've even had like on my masturbation video, I think someone, baby girl. But yeah, like for example, on my masturbation video, someone commented, they were like, honestly, I don't even believe in God, but like this really helped me. Like, thank you so much for this information. And I get so many comments like that. Like, I don't even believe in God, but this helped me. And I think it just all circles back to the fact that my intent, I think it comes down to intent. Yeah. You know, like what is the purpose? If your aim is to like make people feel bad for not being a Christian, then people are going to feel bad. Yeah. If your aim is to just give sound advice and you just so happen to be a Christian, then people are going to feel that.
That's kind of the perspective I take too, where it's like I see my role as like just planting the seeds. Yeah. Like I'm kind of just like I'm planting the seeds and being the light, and you'll see 9 times out of 10, people will see something in us that will spark a curiosity of like, what is that? Exactly. Like, what is it about this person that's drawing me to them, that's making me like feel engaged, even though I don't necessarily believe everything that they're talking about, or I don't have that level of understanding yet. Right. I'm intrigued enough to want to explore it. Yeah. And I think that's the hook. Yeah. Like, I think that's where people just keep digging, and then before they know it, their life can be transformed. Yeah. And that's not everyone, but that's I think both of our intentions. It's exactly. Just like, if I could just sprinkle that seed in there and catch it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like if, I'm just going to do my part and then, he's going to do the rest. Yeah.
And I think like that is kingdom work. It doesn't have to look like preaching or singing, leading worship. Like it can be those things, but it doesn't have to be that.
It doesn't have to be that. Yeah. And I think too, my favorite stories in the Bible are Jesus, the gospel, because that's what Jesus was doing. He was out there hanging out with thugs, literal hoes, strippers, chilling with them, like sitting down, like, hey, we're chilling. And because of just being who he was, people's lives were transformed. Literally. Yep. And so yeah, so that's my my goal is to just be me.
Yeah.
So. Well, my camera keeps dying every 5 seconds, and the conversation is really good.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you so much
Thank you.
for being on my channel and for welcoming me into your home and for making me lunch and for giving me half of your kombucha. But yes. So you guys make sure you follow her on all of her everything she does.
Yes.
I will have her website, YouTube, Instagram, everything linked below.
Podcast.
Oh yes,
She's gonna be featured on.
and also I think I'm gonna go ahead and link it down below when we do it. So make sure you go follow her so you can see the podcast that we're gonna be doing on her channel, and it's fire. It's fire.
It's actually gonna be on my. Wait, you said on my channel?
I'm sorry,
It's
not her
gonna be
channel.
on my YouTube channel.
It's on
It's
her.
on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor.
There we go. Listen to her. It's gonna be on iTunes, Spotify, and
Anchor.
All right, I love you guys so much. Comment down below any
Yes.
nuggets or questions that you guys have.
I'll be in the comments.
Yeah, she'll come down in the comments and we'll just all have a beautiful soul beauty chat down there. So yeah, I love you guys so much. Subscribe, like, share with all your friends. Bye. Oh my God, we did it. Yay! Okay, let's take a picture real quick.
Oh yes. Before you forget.
And then we'll take one on the camera for the thumbnail.
Just in